Hello. Today we are going to talk about how copywriting got me evicted from my apartment, and just in general what really bad copywriting is, um, and lessons you can learn from this. By the way, my name is Eric DiGiovanni. If you don't know who I am founder of a brand copywriting agency called Diamo, where we help brands put their messaging in market. The reason I'm making this video is so you don't get a copywriter to completely F your business up, or you yourself don't fuck your business up with bad writing. And so here was the context. So essentially, I was really bored one day. I wanted to throw a party in my apartment building. I was living in like a 285 unit, I think it's 285 unit high rise. I was like, I don't know anyone in this building. I was living here for like 5, 6 months, 7 months, something like that. How can I get to know more people? So I sent out invites to 285 people, basically, saying like, hey, I'm throwing a party, and I handwrote all the envelopes, and I mailed them out. They got the invite, and so here's where I went wrong. You're like, why would this cause an eviction? Well, the party didn't happen. I got evicted before that, and when I say evicted, they just kicked me out. It wasn't an official eviction, but this is what happened. So I said, hey, party. And by the way I found all these units to mail the addresses to is I just went on the leasing company's website, looked at the blueprint of all the buildings, of the entire building, each floor, and I just wrote the address that we were living at and just wrote the unit numbers. On the envelope, I just said neighbor, and then the address, and then unit number. No return address. So I said, I also wrote this from an anonymous name, but I'll get to that later. So, party, reason you should come. The reason I put that you should come is we don't know each other. And the reason that that's important is in case of a terrorist attack, and I made sure to underline this for emphasis, or a fire, like the building catches on fire. And so here's the thing, this right here is what got me kicked out pretty much. No one wants to hear that a terrorist attack is happening. I didn't realize this. I thought it would just be funny. The thing is though, is when you're living in a building with older people, specifically people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, I mean not 30s, 40s, 50s, like 50s, 60s, 70s, older than me, they probably don't have the same sense of humor as me. So I never ran any of this by someone who's older. I didn't run this by anyone. I just thought, hey, screw it. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is the building shuts down for a day, which is what happened. The room I was going to throw the party in shut down for a day, and the police got involved, or allegedly they got involved. I don't know if they did or not, but that's what the leasing company told me. So how do you avoid doing something like this? First thing, know who your audience is. What language are they using already? The audience I was targeting does not use this language. They don't say, they are not humored by language like this. No resident in a building is going to be humored by this language. No, they're not going to be humored by this. Especially if you're living in a corporate leasing building, like a leasing building that's corporate, they're not going to be humored by any of this language. So, you want to make sure that you're talking to the right person. That is like the fundamentals of copywriting. You want to make sure you're talking to the right person. This would have been hilarious probably if I sent it to a bunch of frat houses. But that's the complete opposite demographic of who I was targeting. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, even if you know your audience, it's always a good idea to have your copywriting checked by someone who you respect as a writer, or someone who's in this audience, or even a few people who are in this audience, for any jarring things. All that being said, I don't regret doing this. This was a great learning lesson for me. I ended up paying a ton of money in advance before I even got kicked out. So I got all that money back. Like I paid a ton of money. I paid my rent like months in advance, so I got all that money back. So I was like, okay, this is great. I ended up moving to a new country for a little bit, and was like, cool. Like, it's a great experience, and now I have a great story to tell. So, yeah, make sure you're writing, make sure you know who your audience is. And the way you can do that is just by seeing what other brands or other promoters or other businesses are writing to their audience, and you can use the same messaging. Now that might be counterintuitive if you're like, oh, well, I want to differentiate yourself. Well, yeah, you can differentiate yourself with extremes like this, but just make sure to run it by someone who's in this audience or another writer who you respect. So I didn't do any of that. That was my mistake. But yeah, I'm just doing this to transparently show you that I'm not always a great copywriter. This was at the same time I was writing for Amazon, and I think I was still writing for Hulu at the time. I might not have been writing at Hulu for this time, but I was writing for Amazon. And never told them any of this. Anyway, this is what happens when you don't copy chief or check your work, and it's what happens when you don't know exactly who you're writing to. So if you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe to YouTube. Also check us out on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/EricDD, or our company LinkedIn, that's Diamo, Diamo, and find us on Instagram, TikTok, and many more. So hope to see you in the next video.
Diamo.